Hello, and welcome to another episode of Inside the Huddle. Today is Sunday, October 19th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far. This is episode 81 of the Inside the Huddle podcast. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Make sure to please like and subscribe here on YouTube. Another week number 7, flying through the NFL season. Only one more week in October. And then we're 2 months in, and we've officially hit November, almost halfway point of the season already, nearing the home stretch of the season, getting closer to November, mid-November, December. Football playoffs really starting to take shape, teams starting to separate themselves from the rest. You've got that from the really good teams starting to separate themselves. You've got the really bad teams starting to take a look at the Tankathon draft order at this point in the year. So it's cruising right by. Got a lot to discuss today, lots of news during the week to break down, obviously previewing all of today's action as well. DiMari, another week is here. How's it going, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. You said it perfectly. We are getting pretty close to the middle of the season, and like you said, this is where we start to see a lot of teams kind of separate themselves. We're getting to it later. We're going to see a lot of players and a lot of new uniforms. The divisions kind of stack up. The conferences, you kind of see where teams are going to align. So very important week of football. I know it's still very early, but very important week. Depleted week of football. I know for a lot of fantasy owners, just in general, a lot of players hurt. So we're starting to see a lot of guys out, which kind of sucks. But other than that, yeah, a lot of news to get into. So let's get into it.
Yeah, this is a rough week for fantasy owners because there is, like you said, lots of big name players, lots of key contributors on rosters across the league that are out this week. And it kind of opens up the door for a lot of backups, a lot of depth pieces needing to play bigger roles in your starting lineup. So definitely interesting there. But yeah, we'll dive into a lot today. We'll get into some struggles from the Bills. We'll dive into the Broncos-Giants matchup, some shots fired from Denver. How does that affect the Giants? Kind of break down that game, Denver as a whole. We'll get into, of course, some trade deadline stuff, our underdog picks. And we'll start here, though, with the coaching carousel, coaching move that took place this week. Brian Callahan is out in Tennessee. As you can imagine, this was a move that I hate for so many reasons. We talk about this all the time. I think it's so stupid that they even let Callahan get another year. If you were only going to give him 6 games, why didn't you just fire him last year? They should have just fired him last year. Clean slate with Cam Ward. Now, here we go again with another first overall quarterback, having his head coach fired, middle of his first season. And now next year, new regime, new coach, new system. Callahan was terrible. He needed to go. 4-19 record. But this, to me, just shows how much of a disaster Tennessee right now. They let Vrabel walk out the door. They got rid of Vrabel and brought in Brian Callahan, and now he's out. You have Borgonzi as the GM now, who's got to lead the coaching search. First-time GM, by the way, so you don't really know what to expect there. And a rookie quarterback in Cam Ward. This is a mess. What are your thoughts on the news with Tennessee, Callahan out after a 1-5 start to the season?
I mean, hey, at least they got a new stadium getting built right across the way over there in Tennessee. But I'm not surprised. I don't think anybody should be surprised. He was awful. Like you said, 4-19 record. We talked about Tennessee before, and they just have no pieces. They have no one. It's like every Sunday, I've never, because they don't even really play on TV, but I've never watched Tennessee like sit down and watch them play a game. But kind of just going through the game cast, seeing what's going on with Tennessee, it just seems boring. There's no identity with this team. Like everything kind of seems to be Cam Ward drop back, passing complete. Cam Ward drop back, passing complete. Cam Ward drop back, sack. Yeah. There's no run game, and which it's surprising, but it's kind of not because you have 2 very good backs. I know Tajay Spears is just coming back, so it's kind of just been on Pollard, but Pollard has been a non-factor all year. They have no weapons whatsoever. Like, the team is awful. They are constructed awful. And this is a team where if you watch them, I have not physically watched them, but you kind of see how they play football, and you're not surprised that they have one win, and they were lucky to sneak that one out against Arizona, which that says a lot about the Cardinals. That's a story for another day. But you've mentioned it before during the offseason, and you just mentioned it as well. You hate how teams go into the year with the head coach or offensive coordinator, GM, whatever the case is, with a rookie or second year guy, you fire him. But sometimes you have to do what you have to do. And there was no bright side for Cam Ward and this offense whatsoever with Callahan. So it's unfortunate because you bring him in to replace Vrabel, who now has the Patriots in first in division at 4-2, and they have a little bit better team over there. But it kind of goes to show you where it might not have been a Vrabel issue, it might have been an organizational issue with the pieces and the foundation that they built, and now we're starting to see it.
Yeah, organizationally, the Titans are totally flawed right now. And now the pressure is completely on Mike Borgonzi, who, if this next hire next year, they win 3 games, and in the year after that, win another 4 games, what's going to happen with Cam Ward? At that point, Borgonzi's probably gone. They're a disaster. And this makes the whole Vrabel move completely worse. Like Vrabel, a lot of why Vrabel was out and was some of the issues within the organization. It even goes back to the whole A.J. Brown trade that, of course, kind of set off with him and the GM at the time. But it was like, just looking at it, how do you let Vrabel go and then train? It's one thing if you let Vrabel go and Callahan and Cam Ward right now are 5-1 and they look like, you know, the Texans did with CJ Stroud or the Commanders did last year with Jaden Daniels, and they're one of these that we've seen the last 2 years, rookie quarterback taking the league by storm. That's far from the case right now. And yeah, we talked about all offseason. I don't know why they brought Callahan back. And let's be honest, if you have the first overall pick, chances are your head coach is not very good, because the reason you have the first overall pick, unless if you fire the coach and then hire a new coach to then draft that first overall pick. But if you have a first overall pick and the coach was there the year prior, chances are that coach is probably pretty bad, because he probably won 2 or 3 games to get you the first overall pick. And is there really much trust that he's going to give you more than that the year after? And you look at it like, this has been such a common theme. Urban Meyer, Trevor Lawrence, 2021, Urban Meyer fired. Bryce Young, Frank Reich fired in 2023. Caleb Williams, Matt Eberflus fired in 24 last year. And now this year, these last number 1 overall picks, all of their coaches have been fired in year 1. And some of these are so predictable. Like Caleb Williams and Matt Eberflus. Matt Eberflus, we all knew, was a terrible head coach. Terrible. And they kept him. DC. Yeah, terrible DC, terrible everything. Like, he's not a good football coach. And they kept him around, and he got fired. What a shocker. He's not good. He's not good with a rookie quarterback. Brian Callahan, anybody that watched the Titans last year or just looked at their record and saw how much of a train wreck they were, you don't bring Callahan back. And they brought him back, and now they're 1-5. They fire him midway through the season. Mike McCoy, by the way, now takes over as the interim. Once coached at the time, the San Diego Chargers, been a coordinator in a couple different spots, was their senior offensive assistant this year. So he'll get an opportunity, as always with any interim. If the team starts to play well, maybe he turns into the long-term, but very rarely does that actually happen. But here we are, though. You have a first overall pick who is going through some growing pains. Now you fire the coach. There's no talent around him. Like, they put Cam Ward in an awful position. There's no talent. Mike Borgonzi did nothing with this roster. The roster is awful. The offensive line stinks. Cam Ward hasn't played well enough, and I think a lot of that is who's around him, who the coach was. It's a train wreck. And I don't know, man. This reeks bad things moving forward for Cam Ward and this Titans team. Like, I would not be surprised if next year they're a 4-win team. They get another top 3 pick, and Cam Ward doesn't take a jump. The next coach stinks, and it's just a vicious cycle now. That's really where it seems like we're headed at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this year, again, you said it last week jokingly, but it's kind of the real deal for the Titans, where it's like, hey, let me just go ahead and start prepping for some mock drafts, some jersey player swaps. So, you know, if I'm Tennessee, I hope Jordan Tyson enjoys Nashville barbecue. A very good receiver out of Arizona State. Because, I mean, first thing you have to do is, like, I can't even say that with confidence. You need weapons, but you need an offensive line at the same time. So it's like, what do you do? I think for Tennessee now, which they don't really have a lot of trade pieces, so it's kind of hard to say that as well, where you kind of go on almost like a fire sale and you just start shopping guys out and send them everywhere and just accumulate as many draft picks as you can. But I'm going to say this so respectfully. I cannot name a single player on that Tennessee defense. The only person I can name on that Tennessee offense is Cam Ward and Calvin Ridley, if he even still plays for Tennessee because he doesn't show up any Sunday.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just that bad for Tennessee where they don't have the guys that you can send off that are very good, send them to a contender and get some draft pieces back. So for them, I mean, it's almost like come draft time, they are completely building from the ground up, which they are. So what direction are they going to go on come draft time? No idea. But if Cam Ward doesn't get an offensive line, which he didn't have in Miami either, luckily he was just amazing at what he did, being able to escape. But an offensive line and some very good weapons like he had in Miami, he's not going to be successful.
Yep. Yeah, and you bring up a good point about the trade assets and things like that. There was a report that came out, and we can even dive into this a little bit later on when we talk about some of the deadline moves that could be made here by the November 4th deadline in 2 weeks from today, or 2 weeks from Tuesday, rather, not today. There was a report that came out that Cam Ward and Jeffrey Simmons are the only two players on Tennessee that's considered safe. So that kind of tells you all you need to know about the state of their roster. Anybody's up for grabs, but then again, and this is the whole complicated part of the trade deadline, is we could sit here and say, give these guys up, trade them away, get assets, but how many of these guys are teams even have to trade for? There's players probably on this Tennessee team that if you dropped them, they wouldn't get claimed. Teams aren't going to give up draft picks, whether it's a 6th or 7th round conditional pick. They're not going to give up late picks for a player that they might not even claim if he was on waivers. So there is that challenge. Like you said, I mean, Ridley would be high value, but is he going to show up? Like, does he play anymore? He's out this week again with the hamstring. You're probably not going to get rid of I.E. Manor. He's a rookie. Maybe somebody that you view as a building block. Maybe you move on from Pollard, but like even him, I mean, they're so bad this season. There's not much talent there at all. And by the way, one other thing just about the whole Titans situation. Can these organizations stop with okay, we have a head coach, their first year, they're working with one GM. Then we fire that GM, we keep the head coach, and then we arrange a marriage with another GM. So now what they're going to do is they arrange the Brian Callahan, Mike Borgonzi marriage. Now they're going to fire Callahan and then Borgonzi arrange a marriage with him with another head coach. And if things don't get better, Borgonzi then is going to end up on the hot seat. Like the timelines don't add up. Just hire the general manager and the head coach at the same time. It's not that difficult. It's really not. And here we are. Like Callahan, 2 different GMs. He's fired. Borgonzi, first-time GM, now has to find a new coach after just 1 year. Some of these organizations, they just never learn. They just, with all this, a rookie quarterback who you're trying to develop, and you're failing at that right now. And you fired Vrabel. Let's also put that out there. You got rid of Mike Vrabel for all of this. Tennessee is approaching like Cleveland Jets, like Cleveland Jets. Yeah. Type of organizational ownership, just straight up dysfunction right now. That's where they're approaching. So anyway, I guess we can move on and get into a team that came into the year a lot different than Tennessee in terms of expectations. But the Buffalo Bills come into the season, high expectations, Super Bowl expectations, start out 4-0. Beat Baltimore, beat the Jets, beat Miami, beat New Orleans. You now look back on those 4 wins and you say, well, those 4 weren't that difficult because Baltimore off to a really bad start. You beat now a 1-5 Ravens team. You beat a 0-6 Jets team. You beat a 1-5 Dolphins team, and you beat a 1-5 Saints team. So realistically,
3-21 combined.
3-21.
Yep.
The combined record of the Bills' 4 wins this year. Fast forward now 2 weeks later, as we sit here on their week 7 bye week, lose to New England at home on Sunday night, 23-20. New England, by the way, 4-2 now on the season. And you lose to Atlanta on Monday night in embarrassing fashion, who is now 3-2 on the season. So the 2 teams that they have played that are above 500, they lost to. The 4 teams that they have played that, like you said, combined record of 3-21, they won to, or they beat. Bye week now, defense is terrible. What are your thoughts right now on Buffalo? Where is the panic meter? Where should the panic meter be for Bills fans dropping their last 2 as they hit their week 7 bye week today?
I think it has to be a 5. And maybe that is too low because, again, you are looking at the teams that they beat. You're like, they beat a bunch. Well, obviously, probably not Baltimore when Lamar gets back. But you look at the other 3 teams and you're like, okay, well, these other 3 are definitely drafting in the top 8. So that doesn't make you feel good. But the losses doing, like New England's loss and Atlanta's loss, the offense just looked like they were in quicksand, and I think they're going to figure the offense out. I don't think the offense needs to be a concern. That defense is awful. I don't know if the Bills defense is dressing up as the Cowboys defense for Halloween. I don't know what's going on in Buffalo, but that defense looks very bad. The Atlanta game, you try to take that one with a grain of salt. The Atlanta defense is actually amazing. Like, look, I think they're top 8 in everything. Like, they are a very good defense, but offensively for Buffalo, they're going to get it going. Josh Allen's going to get it going. You're going to slip up. Some weeks you're not going to look as great. Other weeks you're going to look amazing. That's just part of the NFL. That is what it is. Every player goes through it. But if they don't fix the defense ASAP, make some trades, whatever the case is, they're going to be in a very similar situation. I'm going to use Dallas again, where this offense will have to score 45 points a game and hope to only give up 42 to come out with the victory, because they cannot stop a park car right now. Like, it looks very bad defensively, but I think they should only be at a 5. Like, you still got Josh Allen at the end of the day. No need to panic quite yet.
Yeah, I agree. What's concerning about Buffalo, like you said, the defense has been horrific. And one of the worst of the Sean McDermott era for sure. And you've seen a lot of Bills fans calling for him to be fired already. You look at some of the numbers, they're really, really poor on where Buffalo sits from a defensive perspective across the league. And like you said, kind of similar to Dallas, this is going to be a team that, if they're going to want to win games, especially come the playoffs, you're probably going to have to score 40 points. But even more concerning to me with Buffalo is I think last year they were able to get away with it and have success, but I think the lack of a true number 1 wide receiver right now is starting to plague them a bit. And I think that's kind of gotten swept under the rug a little bit, just because the defensive struggles are more of the alarming issue, and allowing Bijan Robinson to go out there and have that huge 81-yard run, have 170 yards on the ground total, have Drake London put up another 158 with a touchdown. That was also, could have had 2 touchdowns, negating the one before halftime, which that was one of the worst displays of defense I've ever seen before the half. All you have to do is keep the play in front of you, and you let Drake London break free and almost score. Was about a yard away. His foot was a little bit smaller, and he's in. That is like football 101. Prevent, just don't let a touchdown up, and that's all he had to do. And he goes in, and now he could have went down and they called a timeout, could have got a field goal, but he saw an opening and took it. So could have had 2 touchdowns. They could have put up 30-plus points in this game. But I think the lack of the number 1 receiver is starting to really hurt them right now. And Allen, I always say this, Josh Allen always has one of those games every year where he kind of looks like rookie Josh Allen, where he just makes, or not even rookie Josh Allen, but really up until the last like 2 to 3 years, where he was that heavy turnover prone quarterback, where he just makes some dumb mistakes. There's every year there's always that one game with Josh where he just looks like when he had that stretch of 18 interceptions in 2023, 14 in 2022, 15, 10, last 2 years. Last year only had 6. This year so far has 4. So probably going to top that total, but a really bad game for him. But you look at this receiving core, just look at this game alone, and the leading receiver was Josh Palmer. And he only had 2 receptions, 2 big receptions for 60 yards. The one was 45 yards. That was your leading receiver. Then it was Khalil Shakir, Tyrell Shavers, that's not going to get it done. Last year, they were able to get away with it and run the ball more and establish the run. Defenses, I think, now are starting to catch on to that. What do you feel about that assessment of Buffalo? Mac Hollins, Shakir, those guys last year worked. Now, I don't know how much you're still going to be able to get away with Josh Palmer and Khalil Shakir. And Keon Coleman's very hot and cold. He'll have games where he plays well, games where, like Atlanta, where he didn't do much of anything. You know, you do have a couple good tight ends, but there's not much there.
Yeah, it's honestly a blessing and a curse because teams can't really prep for one guy going into the week. You don't know who's going to get hot, and they are obviously wide receiver by committee. There's some weeks where it's Kincaid. There's some weeks where it's Shakir. Josh Palmer last week. Still waiting on Keon Coleman. Haven't seen him yet. But, for Buffalo's sake, I am right with you. And it kind of makes me think back on not re-signing Amari Cooper after trading for him was quite ridiculous because that gives you that very effective number one option. And obviously, Cooper took a step back in terms of production. But also, this was a number one who still had it, could still turn it on whenever, and wasn't crying and demanding for the football, which was obviously the reason for the divorce with Diggs and Josh Allen. So you give Josh Allen what he wants, kind of more wide receiver by committee, and now it's coming back to bite him because no one's doing anything at all. So I think not bringing Cooper back kind of has really hurt them, like you mentioned, because, again, this was a guy that you knew he didn't care if he went out there for 3 catches and 16 yards. He was out there to win. Following week, he'll give you a big performance, 6 for 92, 2 touchdowns, or whatever the case was. But right now, I think they should be in the market for a wide receiver. Are you going to be able to find a wide receiver, one that isn't too much of a diva? Yes and no. It's kind of hard. You kind of know how that gets. We talked about the whole diva wide receiver thing this offseason. But you're going to need that. And I agree with you where teams have figured it out. Once again, Atlanta does have a very good defense. I mean, look how they have made Baker Mayfield look good when they played in week 1. Like, Atlanta has shut down a lot of good offenses. But for Buffalo and for moving forward, teams are going to look at that Atlanta tape and figure out, okay, this is how we're going to stop Buffalo. This is how we're going to stop Josh Allen. And Buffalo is one of those teams where if nobody's hot, nobody's rolling, Josh Allen, like you said, is going to start forcing. He's going to make some dumb mistakes. And James Cook plays a part of that. If James Cook can't get going, then offense can't get going. And Atlanta shut all that down. So I think I'm right with you where not having a wide receiver one has hurt them. They have to be in the market because if not, I mean, this is a team that probably won't go too far. Luckily, the rest of the AFC looks awful right now. It's depleted. But the confidence in Buffalo without a wide receiver one has like severely tanked considering the offense doesn't look good how we thought they should look.
Yeah. And I think, too, what hurt them and kind of their game plan, because this has been a team that takes more of a run-heavy approach, kind of established the run to open up the pass. You know, they trailed in this game early on. It was early on. You looked up, and they were trailing, and they were down. I mean, it was 7-0 right away. Atlanta went down, obviously scored on their first drive. They ended up coming back to tie it up, but it was 21-7 going into halftime. So it was kind of tough to establish the run and have success on the ground, and that where you started to get Josh to force some of the throws. That interception before halftime was brutal. Can't happen, inexcusable, to then put Atlanta in good field position at, I believe it was the 40-yard line. Buffalo's 40. It just can't happen. That is kind of a rookie mistake there. And then to almost have Drake London score was even worse. So I think that was an issue, and that goes back to the defense. Like, early on, they couldn't stop anything. And Atlanta actually kind of were giving them some chances. Like, they had the 1 4th down that they missed. There was a couple drives where they were moving and couldn't quite convert. So they even could have put up more in this game as well. Here's what I'll say, though. What I think benefits the Bills right now, and why I would say my panic meter is probably maybe even a little bit lower. I think it's probably like a 4 out of like a 10. And the reason I say this is because at the end of the day, you still have Josh Allen. And you just look at this playoff picture right now. Who is the best team in the NFL? Do you know?
honestly, going into Thursday, you probably say this is crazy. You probably say Pittsburgh, and then you see Pittsburgh
And their
not look,
defense.
and their defense is
Yeah.
awful.
Their
There's
defense has
no
been terrible.
there's no shoe in for sure right now. You don't know who's going to the Super Bowl. You have no idea. We
No.
don't even know who's going to win divisions right
No, like,
now.
and yeah, exactly. Not to cut you off, but just look at the AFC in general. First of all, and I'm sure you've seen this. It's like 2007, that time range all over again with Big Ben, Peyton, Rivers, and Brady with the Colts, Chargers, Steelers, Patriots in the top four. Very nostalgic top four right now, division leaders in the AFC. But that's kind of where the benefit is to the Bills. Josh Allen, I'm taking him over all four of the top teams still. Like, to me, he is still down the stretch. Who do I trust more to get their team in? Who do I trust more in the playoffs? Daniel Jones or Josh Allen? Josh Allen. Daniel Jones, or not Daniel Jones, Justin Herbert or Josh Allen? Josh Allen. And I know he hasn't quite had the success in the playoffs. I'm more so talking about the rest of this regular season. Who do I trust to kind of continue this? I don't know. Indy is very good. I still feel like they're going to fall off at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe they won't. Maybe it's just the whole Daniel Jones thing. And it did take me some time with even like a Darnold last year. You kind of felt like every week you kind of felt like, okay, this is going to be the end of the run. And it never came until the very end. Same thing with Baker in Tampa. You always kind of felt like every week it was going to come to a close, and it never happened. And now here we are with Baker. Geno's starting to fall off, so that's a little bit different. But even in Seattle, I don't think anybody expected that and believed it right away, and it kept happening. Daniel Jones is kind of the same boat. But yeah, I mean, Chiefs are out of the playoffs right now. Denver hasn't looked great. I know we'll get to them here soon. The NFL is wide open. Like, is Jacksonville for real? I mean, at the time of this recording, they're getting destroyed by the Rams, 21-0. So that's probably a loss. That's now 2 straight losses. Lose to Seattle last week, but then they did beat Kansas City. It's 7 weeks in. We don't really know, it feels like. At least in the AFC. And I guess the NFC too. Although I think there's probably a little bit of a clear picture. It's Tampa, Detroit, Green Bay, probably. Right?
And still the Rams. I mean, like I said, 21-0 right now. They'd be 5-2 after, which was my Super Bowl pick. And we're not going to go back over it, but we are kind of how do you say? It's like they took their foot off the gas pedal in Philly, but that goes that way. We're talking about 6-1. So maybe the Rams as the favorite, but then again, the Rams also get to that point of the season sometimes where it feels like, and I mentioned this last week, where they take their foot off the gas pedal. They might drop 1 or 2 games that they probably should win. So there's no guarantee. Like, there's nobody besides maybe the Rams that you look at and you're just like, okay, this team is good enough to win the Super Bowl. Everyone has had their weeks where they look great, where they look awful. Kind of off topic here, kind of still on topic. But a team we thought kind of would stand out a little more is Green Bay, and we've heard nothing, absolutely nothing about Green Bay. They have just completely fallen off the map. So that kind of just goes to show you like what type of year it's been, where there's no one that really stands out. You're not really confident in anybody. So I guess that's good for Buffalo, kind of just looping it back to Buffalo. That's good for them because, yes, you do still have Josh Allen. Everything is still wide open. And I think getting those 2 losses out the way prior to the bye week is huge because now you can take those last 2 weeks, make the adjustments that you need to. And we all know Josh Allen's going to get rolling. And once he does, that is a freight train coming at you that you cannot stop. The receivers are going to get going. So Buffalo fans, don't panic. You are still in good hands.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm right there with you. I don't think it's quite panic time yet. Now, this is where it does get into panic time. You lose to Carolina coming out of the bye week.
Oh, yeah.
And you let up 30 to Carolina, who has played better and probably would beat my favorite football team today, so I can't speak. But you lose to Carolina coming out of the bye week to drop to 4-3, and then you go to Kansas City, and that is, or you're home against Kansas City, but no matter the struggles against Kansas City or the struggles for Kansas City this season. Still very good, close game you would expect. Not an easy matchup. You're almost staring at 500 right in the face. You're staring at a potential 4-game losing streak, and that could be awful for a season. And I was kicking myself because I was going to pick the Texans too, or the Patriots too on Sunday Night Football to cover, and I didn't, and I made a mistake because every year the Bills always have the bad loss to the Patriots. Last year, albeit it was the last week of the season, but they lost to New England. Now these have come on the road, not at home. But even 2 years ago, 2023, they had that really bad loss to Mac Jones. Mac Jones and the Patriots beat Josh Allen. That was when they were having those issues with Ken Dorsey. They ended up firing him. They were 6-6 at the bye week, and then they turned it on. You feel like we're in for one of those seasons with Buffalo? Like, do you think they get to like 4-4 and then just win like 8 in a row?
I don't see them losing to Carolina, but Carolina has played a lot better. Now,
and they play well at home.
Thing.
Not on the road, but they play well at home, and they get them on the road. So
very well at home.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: I don't know who it's going to be, but just mention that you talked about Drake London. Week before, Stephon Diggs comes in there, goes over 100, has a huge game. Drake London against his defense has a huge game. They are letting these receivers come in there completely just torch their defense. So against Carolina, who is this going to be? McMillan? Is it going to be Leggett? Is it going to be Jake Coker? Like, who is it? Who is it going to be? So from that aspect of it, it makes you nervous because you're just like, it's almost like, and again, I know I keep tying them into Dallas because it's very similar. Where last year, 2 years ago, and then also this year, you look at Dallas and you're just like, okay, who is it that's going to have a phenomenal game and completely torch this defense? And that is Buffalo right now. You never know who's going to have that great game. So if Buffalo cannot figure out a way to stop a number one wide receiver and they still struggle offensively, they can be looking at 4-4. But again, 2 losses right before the bye week, they're going to make the adjustments. I don't think that is going to happen. They're going to beat Carolina. They're going to beat Kansas City. But going on after that, when they kind of start to build that confidence back and, hey, we're back, let's get this going, they're going to suffer that ugly loss once again because they technically haven't had it. Atlanta's a good defense. I think they are very good. They're figuring out offensively. It's coming.
Yeah, I agree. There is that one bad loss this year with Buffalo that's going to come. Every year they have that bad loss. And usually it's to New England, but New England's not very good, not bad this year, I should say.
Yeah.
I circle one game, and they don't lose to them, but they did play them tough. You beat Carolina, you beat Kansas City on the road in Miami. Maybe that's like the bad loss that they suffer. Because then after that, there's a couple tough games. You get Tampa, Houston, who on the road Thursday night. Houston's kind of weird. I'm very interested to see what they look like tomorrow night because they start 0-3, and they beat Tennessee and dominate Baltimore. But is that more of
it doesn't look too good,
or because they lost to the Rams, Bucks, and Jaguars. So the 3 good teams they played, they lost to, look terrible against. The 2 bad teams they played, they beat up on. So on the road in Seattle tomorrow, that's an interesting challenge. But then on the road in Pittsburgh's not going to be easy. Cincinnati, all of a sudden, it's not hard, but all of a sudden, if Flacco plays like this, and we might be in the middle right now, or in the beginning of another Flacco Cleveland type of situation with Cincy. We might be. Like, if he plays like this, who's to say that Cincy, I'm not saying going to make the playoffs, but who's to say that they at least can't come back alive a bit in that division? I mean, you look at Pittsburgh too and their upcoming schedule. I mean, they got Green Bay, Indy, Chargers coming up. That's not easy either. So there's a chance if that defense continues to play like they are a couple weeks from now, we could look at Cincy and Pittsburgh all of a sudden being neck and neck in the AFC North, which beginning of the season maybe you expected, but you did not expect it being Joe Flacco leading the charge.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, which we're briefly, it's not that ridiculous. I can see it happen, especially for Joe Flacco, what I'm liking for what, the only game we've seen. Where it's always jokingly, it's this meme, it's a big thing. It's with Jefferson, you see it with Jamar Chase. We're just like, you know what? Jamar Chase is down there somewhere. Justin Jefferson is down there somewhere. CeeDee Lamb is down there somewhere. 23 targets. And I'm sorry to bring this up, but I found it hilarious. I meant to send it to you. I saw it on Twitter when someone was like, Jamar Chase put up Justin Fields' stat line on Thursday night. 16 carries, 16 receptions, 23 targets. I think he had like 160 and a touchdown. And I'm like, that is very Justin Fields like. But for Flacco, kind of get back on topic, for Flacco, trust in T. Higgins, trust in Jamar Chase. Chase Brown finally got it going on the ground. I think he had over 70. I know that for sure. The run game is finally get going. The defense, again, if we're not talking about top 10, we're not talking about top 8, we're not talking about top 5. If that defense can just be middle of the pack and just not look atrocious every week, the offense continues to roll how they're rolling. Yeah, we could be talking about Cincy still fighting for a spot by the time Joe Burrow returns.
Yeah, definitely. And that's crazy. Joe Flacco gets them in position, and you hand the reins over to Burrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. Football's a weird sport. We are oddly in the situation again with Joe Flacco where it's another year older and he's kind of taking a team out of the doldrums. Yeah. And also, let's just say how bad this makes Cleveland look. To trade him in the own division and now have him do what he did on. The Young Bowl was phenomenal. That was pure entertainment, the Young Bowl. Phenomenal football on Thursday.
You look at that slate to begin the year, you're like, okay, we get Burrow and Rodgers this Thursday night. You don't know how those are going to go.
Yeah.
Burrow gets hurt, and you're like, now it's the unction when Flacco gets traded. Now it's the unction. Now we're about to watch two unks go at it. And it's been one of the best games of the year, way past their bedtime. Should be in the house, already drink tea, laying out with the wife. But no, they are on Thursday night absolutely just brawling it out for a very good, entertaining game. The Unks still got it.
Yeah, they do. Unks still got it. And the T. Higgins resurgence has been huge if you're a T. Higgins fantasy owner because, especially in my case, with the injuries that I've dealt with at receiver in one of my leagues, I needed T. Higgins this week to come up big, and he did. 21 points was huge. I was actually looking to trade him earlier, but who knew? Joe Flacco, all T. Higgins needed was a little Joe Flacco in his life, and he's back to normal. So all's fine and good in the world.
Add on, this is why you never listen to me in fantasy. Not last week, week before, I was about to bench Jamar Chase. He's not getting it done. Jake Browning is absolutely awful.
Yep.
I give Chase another chance, not Thursday, but obviously week before. He has a big game, 21, and then he goes off this week. So I was about to bench Jamar Chase. Anything you hear on here from fantasy, do not listen to me because it doesn't matter who's throwing the ball to Jamar Chase. You start Jamar Chase. So glad I didn't bench him. Yes. But Joe Flacco told me that Joe Flacco told us, I got you today, and Flacco we trust.
Yes, and don't trust any of my Super Bowl predictions. Those never happened. We never did our Super Bowl picks. Maybe we should do them now.
Yeah, I think we should probably get into it next week.
I don't think Ravens or Eagles, no chance. That never came out of my mouth. Anyway. Rams, Bills.
Bills. Bills are trying to sell it, but
one half of it's looking good. Yeah. Rams, at least one of your teams has you. Yeah. Neither of mine do. Anyway, moving on. Broncos, actually quickly here, because we actually skipped it, but Tennessee, going back here just quickly, some hot seat coaches. Who do you feel might be next? Quickly here, and then we can dive into Denver as well. Next coach to be fired, and even from Tennessee's perspective as well. I know I've seen some names already pop up, kind of like they need a culture guy. I think Tennessee needs the next young, innovative offensive mind with Cam Ward. I think they need to hire ideally in a perfect world, your next Shanahan, your next McVay, that can really work with Cam Ward and figure him out and help him out, and also kind of find ways with this talent on this team to get guys open, scheme guys open, all those different things. But in the NFL in general, just who do you think could be next firing wise? I know we did kind of a version of this earlier in the year, hot seat rankings. Both of us had Callahan, I think red hot or whatever the highest level was. Any other coaches on your radar right now That could be on the hot
Well,
seat or warm.
I think two of them today. It's actually the Pack Your Bag Bowl. Mike McDaniel, Kevin Stefanski. I know Stefanski's one we talked about is kind of tough. If you look at his 2020 year, you look at his 2023 year, very good coach. He's obviously a very good coach, but it kind of seems like Cleveland is stuck in quicksand. Uh, their quarterback situation, I don't know. Cleveland's become a huge distraction, and it doesn't get
Yeah.
better when Deshaun Watson comes back. So it's not like you got a Joe Burrow coming back. If your starter is Deshaun Watson, who has been awful since he's been there. So definitely one of those two, and I'll throw in another one quickly, and I know you probably would drive him to the airport if you could. If Aaron Glenn doesn't make a change and he doesn't get Tyrod Taylor in there sometime soon to try to spark some life, Aaron Glenn's going to be another one. That team has no life. That team has – it seems like no fight, but then again, they do because you look at Tampa, you look at a few of these games where they're still in it, but they can't find ways to piece it together. And then you look at games last week where they look like they should probably be playing on Indiana on Saturday night and not an NFL team on Sunday. Aaron Glenn's another one.
Yeah, I agree. I think McDaniel, Stefanski, very quietly, but I would even throw Sirianni in that conversation. If this is a team that bottoms out, Eagles fans are very impatient. They don't realize that they just won a Super Bowl last year, and they're calling for his head. If they have a 2023 situation happen all over again where they bottom out here and these losses start to pile up and they finish with like 9 wins or 10 wins and get smoked in the wild card or miss the playoffs, Sirianni is somebody to keep an eye on. And I agree with you with Glenn. Like Glenn, I hope that he works out, and I want him to work out, and I want them to start to show progress and start to win football games. But they're 0-6, and they lose this week, they lose next week, and Fields is still this team's quarterback. And more importantly, if Fields stinks, like if Fields goes out there and plays well today, fine. But if he looks like he did last week and continues that, and they don't bench him, that's how you lose the locker room one-on-one right there. They're 0-8 going into the bye week. You have to start the real conversation about this being a one and done. And more importantly, what we just saw happen in Tennessee. Who's to say if Glenn and the Jets win 2 games this year and they get Fernando Mendoza or whatever number 1 overall quarterback, do you really trust Glenn and this regime to develop that quarterback? And the odds are they're probably the Tennessee 2.0, where Glenn next year is probably going to get fired, and then you're going to have to hire a new regime year 2 of a quarterback. And here we are again with the Jets ruining a quarterback because that's just what they love to do. More quarterback ruins than wins. That's really what it comes down to. That's just the reality. Like, because then Glenn's going to have the pressure next year to win 7-8 games because he won 2 this year. If he wins 4 games next year and they have 6 wins in 2 years, you can't bring him back with 6 wins in 2 years. So that's the tricky situation. So yeah, Glenn, those are the main ones. Glenn's warm. I even maybe a level below warm. It's not red hot, and I don't think he'll get fired, and I hope it works out. But yeah, right now this continues. You're approaching. It has to be a conversation because they're getting worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like going into the year, there was maybe McDermott in Buffalo. If this continues, like if they lose the wild card round and they only win like 10 games, maybe he's out.
Which I don't think so. And that just sounds
I don't think so either,
crazy.
but there's fans that have called for him. Every year when Buffalo loses, there's a portion
true.
of the fan base that wants him gone. And I always say this, the things I would do to have Sean McDermott level coaching on my football team.
Which was about to be my point. I mean, to call for his firing because you only win 10 games. You only win double-digit games.
Yeah, only win 10 games to get to the wild card. Yeah.
There's fan bases, like you're saying, that will cut off their hands for 10 wins and a wild card.
I would do a ton just for 9 wins. Just give me a season where we win more games than we lose.
That would be insane. But McDermott, I mean, kind of teeter, you don't know, kind of middle of the balance beam. Yeah. I don't think so. But then again, Buffalo's kind of getting to that point where you're expected to win 11 games, 12 games. You're expected to win that division. You're expected to get to at least the divisional. So depending on how it goes, again, maybe we're talking about it if they are sitting at, I don't know, 9-4 somehow, and they kind of fizz out at the end of the year and they look awful, then we can consider that. But as of now, I think McDermott should be safe, but it's the NFL.
Yeah, I think so too. You never know, but I think he'll be safe as well. And the biggest question too is if you fire one of these coaches and like you have to then have a plan. Like McDermott's gotten you all the way to the AFC Championship game. So if you fire him, that next coach has to get you to a Super Bowl very quickly. And that's the risk you run with these coaches that get you that close. Is the next coach, like, is he going to be the one? And sometimes that happens. Sometimes you need that coach to get you over the top. Like McDermott laid the foundation. Now you need the next guy to. But who is that next guy? I don't know if he's out there. Another one, maybe Harbaugh.
Yeah.
If this continues in Baltimore. But, these are coaches that are not, I would still consider them warm just because their track record. This is like a one-off with Baltimore. It's not like they've been bad now for the last 3 years in a row. So, yeah, I think that's probably a good list. Dable for a while there, and now all of a sudden, if Dart continues to play this way, then there's no way you can fire him. Even if they only win 5 games, let's say, this year, but Dart plays well, you can't fire him. You just can't. So, anyway, that's actually a perfect transition into next topic. Then we'll get into trade deadline. But quickly here on this Giants-Broncos game today, I'll be honest, especially in the New York area and the New York market, there has not been a Giants game talked about this much. There has not been a Giants game hyped up this much in a very long time. They've been irrelevant. The Jets have been irrelevant. New York football has been irrelevant. Jets still are irrelevant. But the Giants all of a sudden have gotten life here. Win on Thursday night against the Eagles. You win 2 weeks prior against the Chargers. 2-4 on the season. With the way things are shaping out in the division, they are still, I guess, alive. We're starting to get like another year of it being the NFC least. If the Eagles continue to struggle and the Commanders are 3-3, and obviously the Cowboys are 2-3-1. But if the defense continues to struggle, they're going to have weeks where they find ways to win, find ways to lose, probably hover around 500. All of a sudden, this is kind of it might be like a 9-10 win division winner right now if things continue this way. But a big game, and some shots fired this week between Denver towards the Giants. Dable was asked about it. He kind of cooled it down, gave the normal coach response of, we're preparing, we're ready for this game, all this stuff. We're not focused on that stuff. But you had Nick Bonino go out and say, I've never seen such a delusional fan base when talking about the Giants fans after last week's win. And then you had Jonathan Cooper kind of take a shot at Jackson Dart and his chain and the celebration, and I guess kind of saying how he's giving off some cocky vibes, whatever. You even had a reporter in the Denver area write an article like directly taking shots at Jackson Dart for whatever reason. So all of a sudden here, we went from this just being a Giants-Broncos game to Giants-Broncos with a little bit of fire. What are your thoughts on this? And listen, usually Denver's got to win this game. You can't talk all of this and then lose at home to a rookie quarterback. This one's got some fire, and I'm glad it's at 4:00 because I'll be able to watch it. Obviously, at 1:00, I'd be focusing on the Jets, but 4:00, it's got some juice to it.
So for those curious on what the comments were, at least for Jonathan Cooper, in the press conference, he says he's a young guy. He's feeling himself a little bit. He's out there running around. He's got the chain on. He's dancing. I feel like everybody needs something, I don't know if that everybody needs something he meant was like a reality check, like the walk to the NFL moment.
Yeah.
For Jonathan Cooper, for Nick Bonito, shut up. Your defense has not looked good. You have not looked good. Your team as a whole has not looked good. And I can understand how the cockiness.
They shut down the elite Justin Fields last week.
I mean, at this rate, my dad's Little League team might shut down Justin Fields. It doesn't look good. And I mean, you are a Denver team who we were very high on this year. We said they were going to win the division. We were expecting 12 wins, and it's still possible. But you haven't looked great how we expected on either side of the ball. You have to pipe it down a little bit. And I get it. I understand it where in college, people love it. People love that, he's got this swagger to him. He got this dog in him. It's this aura that he has. People love it in college. The NFL, a bunch of grown men are going to take an offense to it. And I understand it. But for Jackson Dart, that's who he is. That's who he was in college. If you've seen some of his press conferences and interviews, that's always been Jackson Dart. Mm-hmm. So I'm not surprised. But if you're Denver, you're going to have to back it up. Because if Jackson Dart goes out there, even if he does not completely light it up, which we have not seen from him, we didn't see it against the Chargers. We didn't see it against Philly, the 2 games he won. So he doesn't go out there and throw for 300 yards or whatever the case is. If he comes out with a W, you look stupid. So you're going to have to back up your talk and all the talking that you did. And at the same time, look yourself in the mirror because you need to get things going. You have not looked great, but I kind of like it. I kind of like the trash talk back and forth because, like you said, it makes me want to watch the Giants at 4 o'clock. Yeah. There's a lot of other things I would rather do at 4 o'clock, but I want to watch the Giants today. Like, if it wasn't for Dallas being on TV and hurting my eyes at 4, I would watch this Giants game, but I'm going to be swapping back and forth. But this is a good one. And I do think maybe just throwing out here if I spoil anything, I do think Denver goes out there and shut him down this week, and he doesn't look great. I do think Denver wins this game, but if Denver loses, and this can be a topic for next week, if Denver loses and Jackson Dart goes out there and completely embarrasses them, we might need to – we're talking about Buffalo and sounding the alarm. We might need to sound the alarm on Denver because they are – right now they have not been who we thought they were going to be.
No, yeah, you're totally right. They have – offensively, they've really been one of the more issues with me. Like, they just haven't looked the same. And I mean, you were both. I mean, high on Bo Nix coming into this year. I thought – out of all these second-year QBs, or more so him and Daniels, that he was going to take that big jump. We both, I think, had him winning the division. Bo Nix taking the huge jump, the defense, and, the defense has rounded into form the last couple of weeks, but, earlier in the year, they had the loss to the Chargers. They let up 29. I know that game they probably should have beat Indy, but, Daniel Jones couldn't stop him, who right now nobody can. This is very interesting, and they've won 3 in a row, but there's some context, right? They smoked the Bengals team with Jake Browning at home. They beat the Eagles, who at that point weren't fully struggling. That was like the first of these 2 losses that have started to make people question them, with the other coming with the Giants. So I guess we'll give them credit for that because, double-edged sword. You can't give credit to the Giants for beating the Eagles and then discredit the Broncos, but they beat the Jets last week. Great. They beat the Jets. Hard to do. 5 other teams have beaten the Jets this year. Very difficult. And they didn't look good in that game. They looked horrible. And there's been times where Bo Nix this year has been overthrowing receivers. He did it again last week. They were sleepwalking through last week's game. I don't know. This one's really tough. And I really, really gave strong consideration to picking the Giants as an underdog this week, just because there's something about the Giants. There's something about Dart and Scadaboo. There's something about the style that they're playing at, that physicality, that nastiness that they're playing with. Denver's coming off of a long road trip where they went to Philly, then went straight from Philly to London. We're in London all of last week. Now they come back home, different time zones. Like, they might be a little slow to start this game, and you have a Giants team that's coming off a 10-day break. And the way the Giants play, if you catch this Denver team sleepwalking again, unlike the Jets, the way the Giants play and the way they've been winning games, it's not going to be a recipe for success for them. They're going to have some struggles. So, yeah, I don't know. It's tough because you have the angle of Giants continuing this, and then you have the angle of a rookie going on the road against a good defense and struggling. And forget about the good defense. Just that building in general, tough place to play. This is going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a good one. And I agree. I never thought I'd be saying this, but you're actually excited to watch the Giants. That usually does not happen, which probably means they're in line to disappoint.
Yeah. Sounds
probably right. Now all of a sudden they're getting some national attention. They're going to go out there and lose like 31-13. And they're going to be back down to earth 2-5, and everyone's going to be calling for Dable's head again. Feels like that's where we're at. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, all I'm saying is Denver's got to win this game. You can't talk all this trash and look the way you've looked this season and then go out there and lose to a rookie at the end of the day. To a rookie. This one's going to be fun. Anyway, trade deadline couple weeks away. We kind of talked about two teams that potentially could be active during the deadline. We talked about Buffalo. Maybe they go out and get a receiver. Tennessee, whoever wants, like pretty much their trade deadline pitch is like free garbage. That's basically it. So whoever wants that, one man's trash, another man's treasure, I guess, as that saying goes. What are your thoughts on the trade deadline? Some players, out there that could be dealt, some teams. You have your teams that'll obviously be the sellers. You have your teams that, will buy here, and some of these teams in the middle. And I think this trade deadline is going to be really interesting because kind of like the way we talked about, there's really no team right now that's separating themselves amongst the rest. Like all these teams have a chance right now to be a number one seed in both conferences, right? Like, we don't have any team right now that's undefeated, dominating, looks unstoppable. You look at the AFC, 4 teams that I don't think you expected to be the leaders of their division. NFC, kind of the same thing. As much as we all like the Bucs, I don't think we expected them to be a number one seed through the first 6 weeks. Green Bay's still in the mix. You have San Fran, the Eagles, obviously now struggling. What are your thoughts right now as the deadline approaches?
I'm going to go from the player angle of it. There is one guy who pulled a John Wall. I don't know if you've been keeping up with everything going on Dallas-wise, but Trayvon Diggs this week is out, and he's in concussion protocol after an accident at home. That was the report. Trayvon Diggs is gone. I think that's kind of the one that stands out to me the most, obviously, coming off of that 2021 year. We had 11 interceptions. That whole thing is kind of funky. The whole situation is funky. I've been reading more into it. I guess he had his house in Frisco up for sale in June of last year, I think the report was. So this seems like something that's been brewing for a while. I think him and Eberflus don't get along. And a lot of what I've been seeing is Eberflus has a lot – that too. I mean, when you are giving up 80 points a game, I probably wouldn't like the DC either. But it seems like Eberflus has more control over the personnel and certain things than we actually know. I don't think the two get along. So I think Trayvon Diggs is out of there. Dallas trying to free up some cap. And just in the mix of that, they are looking to add another player as well to help out the defense. So I guess I'll spoil 2 of them here. I would love Dallas to go out and either try to get Jalen Phillips from Miami, who we think probably will be sellers, or Trey Hendrickson, which you're just like, why not sign Micah back to go get Trey Hendrickson? But I think Jerry Jones realizes you kind of need a defense in order to be successful in the NFL, no matter how good your quarterback is. So I guess spoils it there. 3 guys that I think could be on the move. Dallas being one of the team I think could be a buyer. Would love to see one of those 2. But, just to kind of go back 360 here, I think Trayvon Diggs has played his last down in the Cowboys uniform, and he might be gone as soon as Monday.
Interesting. That's one that I did not really think of or obviously have seen much about. Yes, when you bring that up, it definitely you could kind of connect the dots there and see why that could potentially happen. Anytime scouting out the selling of the houses, or when you get to that stage of the player between team relationship, always gets interesting. Yeah, I mean Dallas is. I don't think Eberflus is awful. He has to be a one and done, right?
Please.
Has to be. Miami agree. Jalen Phillips, they're going to be sellers. Jalen Waddle maybe too, although we've got the reports that supposedly they don't want to move
not
him.
Interested, but they might need to.
Yeah. you hear a lot of times now that these teams aren't interested in moving these guys, but when you look up and your record's 1-5 and you have your quarterback going out and saying that players are not showing up to players only meetings and you have a coach on the hot seat, it might be time to reassess and maybe trade and try and get some value. And that's really where I'm looking at as the receiver market. You look at some of these teams in need of a receiver, Buffalo being one of them. Do they maybe make a trade for Chris Olave? I feel like every single year it's a yearly tradition of Chris Olave and trade deadline talks. And then
Alvin Kamara. I'm going to throw that one out there. I'm sorry to cut you off, but those are the two. It seems like for the last 2 years, we said Olave, we said Kamara. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the Kamara thing's interesting because now you get the report that he wants to be there long term. He told the Saints that he wants to stay. I don't know why he'd want to stay there long term, but I mean, I guess whatever makes him happy. But yeah, the receivers, Olave, you want to throw Kamara in the mix as well. New Orleans selling off, not good either. A.J. Brown's an interesting one.
Yep.
Eagles don't seem willing to move him. But my question is, like, who wants A.J. Brown right now? With the, you talked about trading for a receiver that's not a diva. The A.J. Brown situation in Philly is not very good. Like, to me, I don't see a team like Buffalo trading for A.J. Brown because that was the whole thing with Allen and Diggs. The relationship was fractured late. They're not going to make that work between him and A.J. Brown. I just don't see that. Right?
It's a little bit of I feel like there's a little bit of a difference because for A.J. Brown, like, we have not seen him come out to the media and he's like, oh my goodness, throw me the ball. Like, what am I doing here? Like, it hasn't been that. It's just, you can tell by his attitude and demeanor in interviews, press conference, or whatever, that he's frustrated, but he is not like at any point put Nick Sirianni on his spot, put the OC on the spot, put Jalen Hurts on the spot. Like, that he has not done, which compared to Diggs was kind of just like, give me the football.
Yeah.
So I think they could make it work. Would they? I kind of agree with you. I don't think they do, just because you don't want to put that pressure on Josh Allen, even though that instantly just makes you so much better for Buffalo's standpoint. For an offense, we just talked about, it needs the help. But for A.J. Brown, again, it's not like he's been out bashing anybody. It's just he obviously doesn't want to be there. And, I mean, can you blame him when your quarterback probably has more rush attempts than pass completions on the year? I get it. I understand it. You are A.J. Brown. You are one-on-one, far side of the field, zero coverage. Hey, let's throw like a shuffle pass to Dallas Goedert on the 1 yard line. I would get a little frustrated too. Like, I fully understand it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I could see that angle of it. And it's not just him too. Like Devontae Smith is obviously showing frustration. So I could definitely see that angle. Waddle's the big one as well, as we kind of talked about. I'll throw another team in here from the wide receiver standpoint. The Giants, as we just talked about, if they win today and maybe they make a trade this week, but then let's say they win next week and they're 4-4 and they're doing it with the receivers that they have. I know Slayton's been out, but Slayton's not any good. And then your other receivers, Wan'Dale Robinson, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Jalen Hyatt. I mean, what are we doing here? They could use some help. They get back in the mix with a win today. They're a team to keep an eye on with Olave, Waddle, any of those guys. And there's been reports that they've reached out to them. Some other guys, we talked about with Miami too. You want to throw like a Matt Judon in there or a Bradley Chubb, maybe some other names that could be on the move from a defensive standpoint. Tennessee, they said they're going to trade anybody except Cam Ward and Jeffrey Simmons and the Jets too. They're going to be sellers, obviously. Breece Hall, I think today is definitely his last game, and last home game as a Jet. He's going to get dealt. He's going to get moved, whether it was the Instagram post, without the Instagram post, with the Instagram post, free 20, whatever. He was going to get moved anyway. These rumors have gone all the way back to the offseason, and you understand it. They're 0-6. They're not going anywhere this year. They're not going to bring him back. Contract up, get something for him. I could see Michael Carter as well being dealt. He's been awful this season. And another guy, too, that the Jets can get out of his contract after this year. They're going to probably opt out anyway. So ever since they made him the highest paid slot corner prior to last year, it's been all downhill. Was injured last season, didn't play well this year, hasn't played well. Out today anyway with a concussion. So the injuries are popping up again. I could see that moving him. What I don't want to see the Jets do is trade Jermaine Johnson. I don't have much faith in this regime, but I don't even think they're that dumb to trade Jermaine Johnson.
Do that. You do not do that.
Not at all. There's 3 untouchables, I think, with the Jets. It's Garrett and Jermaine and Quinnen. That's it.
Ooh. Okay. So I was thinking you were going to say Sauce.
Sauce. They're not going to trade Sauce. I guess Sauce is untouchable. They're not going to trade him. But I don't know. I need to see more from Sauce. He's been very shaky. I don't know. I'm very iffy with Sauce right now. It's just they're not going to get dealt. Even if he did get dealt, who would want to take on that contract right now?
Yeah.
Probably not anybody. So
I mean, I don't see a world where this happens, but if they want to move on from Sauce, there is a team that is trading a corner. You do a corner swap.
Yeah.
The one team really, and I know this is me shooting for the stars, but just thinking of some spots, Dallas desperately needs a corner. Needs a corner. I know Kalen Clarkson, I think, is back from IR this week. So do you swap him and you take on that contract?
What if I propose you the Steve Wilks for Matt Eberflus swap? Probably the 2 worst defensive coordinators in the NFL at the deadline here.
I honestly don't think it gets worse than Eberflus. The only defense that I have seen worse than Eberflus is me on College Football 26.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at this rate, I would do it. I personally would do it.
Yeah. I might do it too because Steve Wilks has been awful. A little Sauce Steve Wilks package for Eberflus and Trayvon Diggs.
It's so bad to the point I would drive up to Jersey, pick up Wilks and Sauce, drive them to Frisco, and then drive back from Frisco up to Jersey, all in my own car, own gas. I would buy everybody food. It doesn't matter. Anything to get Eberflus off my team, I would do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same with Wilks. Anything to get him off the team. So that's kind of the deadline. Break it all down. Underdog picks. So haven't updated these actually in a couple weeks here on the show, but records right now 9-9, 8-10.
Washed.
So I have a 1-game lead right now. Both of us 1-2 last week. Just kind of the definition of mid. All right, you want to begin? You have the honors because you technically won 2 weeks ago. So, and last week we tied. So technically you still are the winner here. What are your picks for this week?
One of them, we are going to go start off. This is the Pack Your Bag Bowl I was just talking about. I'm going to go Dolphins plus 1.5, I think it was when I looked earlier. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no faith in this game whatsoever. But Cleveland offensively is just that bad. But I don't know if the Dolphins are going to be able to score. I see the weather is supposed to be absolutely terrible in Cleveland. So I'm going to go out on, go out with hope here. I'm going to go Dolphins plus 1.5. Second pick here, we just talked about him earlier too, MVP Baker. I'm going to go Bucks plus 5.5. Originally, no, but the fact that Egbuka and Mike Evans are questionable, and I think they may play. Brian Branch out for the Lions is going to be a huge deal. I'm going to go Bucks plus 5.5. Also, this Bucks team has played Detroit very tough. For some reason, they have Detroit's number, so I like Baker to continue that MVP stretch. And then lastly, I'm going to go Philly hate watch once again. Give me Carson Wentz with a little revenge with Philly. Give me Vikings plus 2.5 against Philly. Philly's awful. Hate watch. Sometimes better than statistics. I like the Vikings plus 2.5 this week.
All right. Vikings, interesting one. I like that. And I agree. I'm going to go Dolphins. I have them at 2.5. But we can double check. Either way, 1.5, 2.5. It's kind of.
I would love to play it to 2.5 because I have no confidence whatsoever.
Yeah,
we can go 2.5.
Yeah, this is the Pack Your Bag Bowl. So I'll go Dolphins plus 2.5. I'm with you there. Terrible weather. Cleveland's so bad.
Yeah.
They were competitive in the London game against the Vikings, but other than that, they've just been uncompetitive this year. Some of these losses have just been ugly. it's going to be horrible weather. I think Miami wins. Miami still is the more talented team, so I think they pull this one out and pick up a victory. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing long term, I don't know, but you can get $13 tickets for this game, so I guess that's a positive if you don't want to spend much money on tickets.
You might see more ticket. You might see a ticket price might be more than the actual total score tonight. Probably. That's how bad it's going to be.
Yeah, you're probably right. It might be under 13 points.
Yeah.
So I agree. I'm going to go Dolphins plus 2.5. Like them. I don't even know if I want to say I like them in this game. I think the Browns are just that bad. So I go in Miami for that reason. This next one here is kind of right with you. I'm going to go Bucks as well, plus 5.5. I know they're on the road, but I think they keep it tight. I don't know if they win the game, but I think they keep it tight. I think it's a 3-point game. I think it's a close game, maybe 31-27, 28-24, something like that, 27-24. I think it's a close game. I think it's a field goal game. Don't know if they win, but I do think they cover the 5.5. So I'll go Bucks there. And I'm going to go out on a limb with this one. I might regret it, but I'm going to go Colts against the Chargers here to pick up a win. I believe it's plus 2.5. The Chargers quietly have struggled a bit here. They lost 2 in a row to the Giants and the Commanders. Last week, they barely squeaked one out against Miami. So quietly here, they've hit a little bit of a bump. I'm going to go Colts plus 2.5 to pick up a win today. Daniel Jones, Indiana Jones, and the Colts continue to figure it out, I guess. Win games somehow, some way. So
I like that one. That's one I looked at, and then the Philly hate watch was just able to overpower at the end. But I do like Colts 2.5.
Yeah.
Chargers have been
the AFC West. Good. Like, what happened to the AFC West? We got the Broncos haven't looked right. Chargers now have hit a rut. The Chiefs haven't looked right. And the Raiders are a train wreck. So here we are. I mean, we talk about the 2 strongest divisions in the AFC. And we got the AFC West as a train wreck. And the AFC North is just a battle of 2 40-year-old quarterbacks.
Yeah. Just like we drew it up. Just like we drew it up.
Script writers were on top of that one. And we have a trade in the division giving away said 40-year-old quarterback to the division opponent. So you could start rookie in Dylan Gabriel, and now you're 1-5. So good teams, I guess, as they say, right? Bad teams just stay bad sometimes. And that's some things will never change. The Browns being a bad run organization will just never change. Anyway, any closing thoughts?
That is all. As usual, enjoy your football Sunday. Thank you for watching. We will be back next week. More news, more topics. And sorry for what you're going to witness at 4:25 on TV today. Other than that, again, we'll see you next week.
Yes, see you next week. Enjoy the Panthers-Jets Bowl today, for those of you who actually will turn that game on. Yeah, that'll do it. We'll be back next week. Thank you as always for watching.